We interrupt your news programming on WQED and WHYY. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message has been transmitted by request from the Herndon Police Department, the NTSB, and the Consolidated Rail Corporation. At around 5:37 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a 911 call came in about a frightening train wreck near the Herndon Interlocking Tower. A head-on collision between freight UY 328 and S82 occurred. Bituminous coal ignited the consist in 3 of the 4 locomotives' fuel tanks on fire. Stay tuned for later statements from NTSB officials on this dangerously developing story. Hazardous materials warning. The following message has been transmitted by request the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the NTSB, and Operation Lifesaver. An out-of-control fire has taken place at the interlocking at Herndon. Confirmed materials on the train that ignited the fire were gasoline, nitric acid, hexogen, nitroglycerin, nitrocellulose, red and white phosphorus, calcium carbide, potassium permanganate, uranium-238, sodium chloride, chlorine gas, propane, diesel fuel, toxic gel ammunition, flammable ammunition, spontaneously combustible explosives, glycerin, and tuberculosis needles. Anyone within a 60-mile radius are to evacuate immediately. Stay tuned for further updates. Fire warning. The following message has been transmitted by request from the Herndon Fire Department, Herndon Fire Rescue, and Consolidated Rail Corporation. A 16,000-foot wall of flames shot upwards into the air. Temperatures have reached over 15,000 degrees. The wreck is too much for fire rescues to extinguish. All fire rescue and law enforcement are advised to evacuate immediately for your own safety. It is confirmed no nuclear warheads are on board, but that doesn't mean an explosion will occur. Stay tuned for later statements by NTSB officials and Operation Lifesaver Management on this dangerously developing story. Stay away from this area, and stay tuned for further updates. Shelter-in-place warning for the Herndon area until further notice. The following message has been transmitted by request from the Federal Bureau Investigation, the NTSB, Operation Lifesaver, and the Herndon Police Department. An explosion is imminent of occurring. The flames are reaching a gasoline tanker freight car derailed on the tracks. The hazardous material cargo and the bituminous coal are nearing a full explosive blast. Last warning, evacuate immediately for your own safety. The National Guard has set up underground shelters for your own safety. Stay tuned for later statements by FBI agents and NTSB officials on this dangerously developing story. Again, stay away from this area. We are sorry to interrupt your news programming on WHYY and WQED. This is an urgent emergency bulletin update. This message has been transmitted by request from the FBI, the NTSB, Operation Lifesaver, and Consolidated Rail Corporation. The hazardous material cargo derailed earlier has ignited the entire cargo on fire. A huge power outage has occurred and all 911 emergency lines are out of service until further notice. All airports will be also shut down for your own safety. Although no fallout is present, it is recommended that you stay in your shelter until an all clear has been given by FEMA and NEST officials. Tune to 12:40 a.m. on your radio dial in WHYY for later updates on this developing story. If Herndon is still receiving this message, the following instructions will be listed but not alphabetically followed are: close all doors and windows. You are exposing yourself to 3rd-degree and 4th-degree burns from the flames. Use towels to seal cracks in the gaps along the window panes. This will protect you from accidental smoke inhalation. Drink heavy amounts of cold water. This will prevent you from being dehydrated while in your shelter. Bring battery radios to tune for 640 AM or 1240 AM and 640 FM or 1240 FM for urgent bulletins. Also tune to WHYY and WQED serving the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia areas. Later statements will be made later in this broadcast. All programming is ceased for duration of this message. The NTSB has fully begun an investigation in cooperation partnership with FBI and Operation Lifesaver officials. The 168 of the 207 combined freight cars have been totaled in the blast and will be scrapped at the Altoona shops. Also, all 4 locomotives on both trains will be cut up for scrap and melted down. Conrail 7095, 7828, and 2 other diesel locomotives are being sent to the scrap yard. There is unknown reports of any fatalities and casualties. Later statements will be released for duration of this broadcast. Stay tuned for further updates. This is an urgent bulletin from Operation Lifesaver and the NTSB. 4 crewmen were confirmed of being killed after their locomotives collided head-on. The other 4 crewmen are being airlifted to area hospitals for 5th and 6th degree burns. All firefighting personnel are now permitted to extinguish the remainder of the flames. Later statements will be released to news and media outlets for duration of this emergency message. Stay tuned for further updates on WHYY and WQED serving the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia areas. Tune to 1240 FM on your radio for later details on this dangerous story. Stay tuned for updates on your radio dial as the story develops. Civil danger continues for the Herndon, Pennsylvania area. The following message has been transmitted by request from the Northumberland County Sheriff's Office, the Northumberland County Emergency Management, the Herndon Police Department, and the Harrisburg Office of the Federal Bureau Investigation. The NTSB, in cooperative partnership with the 3 enforcement offices, are speculating that the engineer who was killed in the wreck unlawfully used a siding and incorrectly read the signal consistently. The coal train's speed was about 55 miles per hour. The hazmat train was 85 miles per hour. The engineer of the coal train wrought 12 minutes late at this time of the wreck. Listen to later statements from Operation Lifesaver officials on this developing story. The National Weather Service in Herndon has issued a red flag warning for Herndon in northern Northumberland County, South Herndon and southern Northumberland County, until 12:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At around 2:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, National Weather Service indicated a firestorm as high as 17,000 feet and 36,000 degrees in temperature with heavy winds around 110 miles per hour. This firestorm occurred in Herndon Interlocking and is moving towards the Harrisburg area. Locations impacted are Harrisburg, Willow Grove, Mechanicsburg, Nittany, Tyrone, Columbia, and Millersville. Drink heavy amounts of cold water to avoid dehydration. Close all doors and windows to avoid burns. Repeating again, the National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for Herndon in Northumberland County until 12:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Prepare a survival kit in case of emergency when you can do so safely. Again, the National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for the Herndon areas until 12:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Stay tuned for later updates and reports from the National Weather Service. The number for the National Weather Service for submitting a tip to the Harrisburg office is 1-814-231-2408. Again, the number is 1-814-231-2408, when you can do so safely. Again, submit tips online at the National Weather Service phone or online at www.weather.gov. Take cover now. We are sorry to interrupt your news programming on WHYY and WQED for this urgent news bulletin from the Federal Bureau Investigation and the NTSB assisting with Operation Lifesaver. The 911 power lines have been fully restored. However, it is not yet safe to leave your shelters. The investigation confirms the engineer misread a stop signal on the main line from Laurel Highlands Park to Wilkes-Barre. All 4 locomotives were melted from the 36,000 plus degree heat. Stay tuned on your radio dial and news outlets for later coverage of this developing story. Stay away from the areas connecting I-676 and I-95. This includes the McDonald's and Burger King on the north end of the turnpike. A wreck train has arrived to clean up the mess. The crewmen who suffered critical injuries and 5th-degree burns are extremely shaken but alive and well. They want to be released for another 4 months. All Conrail personnel have fully cooperated with FBI and NTSB officials. Listen closely for later statements from the NTSB and FBI on upgrades to the Penn Central Conrail main line. Chassis System and Norfolk and Western have also cooperated with the FRA's decision and are making big changes. Changes that will be announced in the next few minutes. Stay tuned for later statements. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast systems shall transmit this emergency message. This message has interrupted programming by request of the United States government to participate in this emergency. During this emergency, most stations will be on the air providing news stories to assigned areas. This is WHYY and WQED. We will continue serving the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh areas. Tune to your local listings for duration of this message. Do not use your telephone as they are open for emergency use only. The emergency broadcast system has been activated. The fires from the train wreck have been fully extinguished. All clear signals have not yet been given. The National Guard will speak to media outlets later on in this broadcast. All FM and AM radios are still being used for later statements from NTSB and FRA officials. Wait patiently for an all clear to be given before exiting your shelter. Leaving your shelter prematurely will result in you being arrested. It is recommended to fully cooperate with the National Guard and obey all orders. Stay tuned for further updates on later statements from news outlets and media coverage on this dangerously developing story. Stay away from this area for your own safety. We interrupt your news programming on WHYY and WQED. This is an urgent bulletin from the NTSB and the National Guard. This message has been transmitted by request from the National Guard and the Northumberland County Emergency Management. It is now safe to leave your shelters and head back home. Again, an all clear has been given by federal authorities. We thank you for your amazing cooperation during this bona fide emergency. We will, under regulations from the EBS, return all programming to WHYY and WQED.